Hello and welcome to the Happy Little Futures podcast. As always, let's begin with a nice deep breath into our stomachs and out through our mouth. I'm going to keep it a bit brief today. We've had a bit of a fun week, so to speak, and I'm going to try and just hit the nail on the head rather than do my normal waffly business. But ultimately, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about mindful ways in which I am going to be approaching the summer holidays. We've got a six week break coming up in a few weeks, and I want to be very careful not to overload the kids, but also to provide enough structure that they're not going to get bored and lose direction. So over the past couple of years, I've noticed that especially towards the end of the summer, they start to get a bit disjointed, they start to get a bit sort of more fraught, and it's understandable. They're not being challenged in the same ways, their routines lost and stuff like that. I want to try and build in a routine that will work for us as a family, but also that provides us freedom to do what we want, do lots of fun things, and try and give them time to also wind down and connect with what they enjoy and what is personal to them. So ways in which I'm going about doing this is the past couple of weekends we've tried to leave space in our weekend to rest. Not only because the kids are tired, they're very much coming to the end of term, but also because we're tired, we're coming to the end of term. I'm very conscious that sort of we've all been a bit ill, and I in particular need to be resting over the next few weeks in preparation to have the kids full time, which I cannot wait for, and I'm so looking forward to. But I don't want to be in a fraught, stressed place. I want to be in a place where, as much as possible, my work is ready and set out for me, and where possible, I've also got that time to stop and be present with them. And likewise, I've still got the energy to do all of that too. So ways in which that I'm monitoring this is I've been watching sort of their natural body clocks, their natural routines. So, for example, my eldest has a tendency to fall asleep late and wake up late as well. So she'll wake up about 8:30, 9ish, occasionally earlier. She likes to have a bit of breakfast and then do her crafts. She's very much a creature of habit in that sense. However, she's a bit of a tough one to get dressed if she doesn't want to get dressed. I think all three of them are a bit of a tough one to get dressed, to be fair, if they don't want to get dressed. So be mindful of her routine of sort of getting up late and sort of breaking herself into the day slowly with some mindful crafts is quite important, really. Whereas the other two, my son wakes up normally around sort of 6:30, 7ish, and the youngest normally between 5 and 6. And they tend to like to have a bit of a story first thing, or they like to play with their figures or Magna-Tiles or Duplo or Lego or something. So, but they quite often gravitate to the same sorts of things, the same sorts of activities. So what I want to try and do is to look at our week. I want to make sure we've got a day where we're at home each week, if we can be, where they can do the crafts they want. We can go out on our bikes or on our scooters around the block. Well, they can. I don't have a scooter or a bike to go around the block on. But we can take the dog. We can do things like that round the block. But mostly just have a day for them to connect at home. I want to try to then build in a general routine of maybe getting up and out the house between 10 and 11ish in the morning, and getting home sort of between 1 and 2, maybe a bit later depending on what we're doing. Like, I'm not too fussed about how late we get back, but definitely getting up and out before that. Sort of once it gets to about 10, 11ish, they all start to segregate a little bit. They have their own ideas of the games that they want to play. Their individual personalities start to come out, which is absolutely fantastic, and I fully want to hone that. But in doing that, there's also a lot of clashing of personalities, which is why I want to try to allow that few days, once or twice sort of in the week, for just me to be doing this. When it's sort of a 1-to-3 ratio and I can't necessarily hone their individual interests as easily, if I can just have one day a week where we're doing that and sort of I'm being torn in every direction, hopefully the rest of the week we can have some time where they'll play and enjoy each other's company and maybe do their own thing nicely before it starts to get a bit fraught and everyone starts to get a bit, because some of them wake up earlier, some of them wake up later, we have breakfast at different times, and then the sugar starts to dip at different times. It's sort of providing that mindful transition from sort of independent play and stuff like that into something that's going to give a bit of a physical outlet, give more of a sort of spaced out, not stuck together in the house outlet, and really try and create that space where they can feel free. They can be alone with that sort of that individual compass of what they want to do, but maybe we can hone it in an environment where we're at a National Trust place or we're out on a walk somewhere, and we can bring the attention to the individual interests in a wider space, outdoor in the fresh air, sort of really grounding and connecting with each other. So I'm going to quickly, before I carry on, mention our sponsor, Rowan Fox. Rowan Fox is a sustainable clothing brand for kids who love animals and adults who care about the planet. And you can explore the beautiful collection of wildlife-inspired organic t-shirts and hoodies designed by Pamela Ruddy at rowanfox.com. So thank you for that. So being mindful when approaching the summer, not only am I looking at how I can structure our day, I'm also looking at the things that are going to make life easier. So batch cooking, for example. If I can start batch cooking some meals now and use the slow cooker, not only if it's hot, will I then not have to put the hob on so much if I'm using the slow cooker or if I'm batch cooking, but also it means that I'm not going to have to worry about standing around and chopping veg and doing all of that day in, day out, when actually the kids might need me. And if they're getting a bit fraught at any point, then I can be there for them. Also, it means that even if they're not getting fraught, if we're out and about, the food is there ready and I don't need to worry about what time I'm getting back. I don't need to worry about what we're gonna have for tea because it will be in the freezer. I can really try to plan logically all the different things that we're gonna eat. Snacks for us is always a problem because the kids go through so many snacks, so many tomatoes in particular. If your kid hasn't eaten a tomato like an apple, I'm not sure I recommend them getting into it because it becomes quite an event when you've got, especially for us, we have 3 of them and then they go through tomato after tomato after tomato. We kind of have a free reign on fruit and veg rule where they know where it is in the fridge. If they want fruit and veg, they can get it. As long as they sort of ask, but they know that it's there, they can use it. So I'm thinking about doing snack boxes, which I've done in the past, which have worked quite well. So I'll sort of set out a certain amount of snacks for them each day, be it fruit, nuts, biscuits, whatever, crisps, things like that, and then that's their snacks for the day. They can then have whatever they want, and once it's gone, it's gone. I'm hoping that this is purely theoretical. I'm hoping that over time this sort of like helps them to understand regulating their own food intake and stuff like that a bit more too. So I've got that sort of roughly planned in my head. I've also got a couple of days that I'm doing family sound bath and crafts, so they'll have a couple of days with grandparents, which will be lovely for them. And I'll have a couple of sound baths for adults with Be Still with Lucy on as well in the evening. So we'll have a few weekends where we're at home. And unlike a lot of people that I know, I'm not trying to plan every week months in advance. I'm not very good at that. It doesn't really suit me as a person. I'm getting better at putting stuff into my diary. I'm just not very good at sitting there and going, oh, I've got this to do and this to do and this to do. That's what I'm gonna do now. Months in advance. For me, actually, I find it easier to do things a bit on the hop. So I'm gonna have a rough plan of a couple of weekends maybe that we might want to go away, or we might want to do day trips. And I'm going to also then try and plan in some activities that I want to do and try and scatter them throughout the weeks to be sort of like equally spread, so that if we want to do something big one week we can, and if we don't another week we don't have to. So I think it'll work quite well. So approaching it, my main takeaways I suppose for how I'm approaching it more mindfully is really giving space and time for the kids to relax before the holidays, so that they're not too worn out and I'm not too worn out for the holidays. Giving time for me to notice the natural routine and the natural rhythm of the whole household, so that I can factor things in to fit in at times that are going to suit everyone. And trying to purposefully and intentionally create space in the week for them to hone their own interests, and for us to have a bit of time at home, which is something that I'm notoriously bad at doing. So factoring in that sort of like day or something like that a week where they can really crack down and do bits that they want to, and we can spend time really enjoying each other's company. So that's that really. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm going to be putting some of these little things up on the Happy Little Futures Hub over on Facebook, so please join there. I have been a bit quiet on socials recently because we've had a lot on. I'm sort of prepping for a lot of other work in the background, but please keep an eye on there. Like I said, there will be family sound baths and craft mornings if you keep an eye on the Happy Little Futures Facebook and Instagram. And if you also keep an eye on Be Still with Lucy, there's going to be some sound baths coming up over the summer too, where you can just chill completely. I did my first one of them last weekend and it was absolutely wonderful. And it's just an opportunity for you to just lie, whether you meditate, whether you don't meditate, whether you have any experience, whether you don't, you just lie there, you just be still, and you just let the sound take you to somewhere completely different. And it's a wonderful experience. I can highly recommend it. So that they'll be coming up as well. So keep an eye on Be Still with Lucy on Facebook and Instagram for that too. And I'm going to love you and leave you. So if you take a deep breath in and release, I will let you on with your week, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.